So the Elimination Chamber matches are now set on both the men's and the women's sides, and it's safe to say they are pretty stacked. Overall, I think this show was a little bit average, just because I feel like there's not too many talking points. You know, I honestly considered not doing this video, just because I don't think there's too much to talk about. Which I know you're wondering why you're here then, but just bear with me. If I upload this, it means I found something to talk about, so just hold your horses. So obviously, as always, and this isn't in any particular order, I just ask AI to give me a rundown because I don't make notes and whatnot, so this is going to be in a random order, but you should know this by now. We'll start off with Seth versus Finn. Now, to be honest, going into this, I kind of could see a way in for both of them. Obviously, a lot of people wrote Finn off just because, I mean, he's in Judgment Day. He's also not being utilised as what fans want him to be, you know. Should have been a multi-time world champion. Hasn't been. So everybody kind of expected Seth, but in the back of my mind, I did kind of see a way in for Finn for the Elimination Chamber. Just with Damian Priest being in. Obviously, we know their rivalry and whatnot, so I would not have been surprised if Finn somehow won, and then we'd have that little moment in the chamber where, like, Finn and Damian are face-to-face again. It wouldn't have surprised me. But Seth Rollins did end up getting the win. No Judgment Day, by the way. No Judgment Day came down to help. Nothing. And I was expecting something, to be honest, but yeah, Seth wins clean. It was a decent match. I don't think it was the best they've ever done. You know, I think they've had better, but it was alright. It kind of fell flat a little bit in my eyes, just because, again, it wasn't the best match these two have put on. We know the chemistry's there. They've had bangers. But yeah, so Seth Rollins is now the final member. So that is now Seth, Drew, Punk, Cena, Logan and Damian Priest all now in the Elimination Chamber. Then from the men's qualifying match to the final women's qualifying match, NXT's Roxanne Perez, although we don't know if she's actually on the main roster yet, we'll have to wait and see, against Raquel Rodriguez. Now, honestly, I think the most memorable part of this is Lillian Garcia announcing Roxanne as Roxanne Perez instead of Roxanne Perez, which is her name. Roxanne Perez did manage to get the win, thanks to Bianca Belair and Naomi coming out to distract Liv Morgan, because obviously the whole Jade thing, even though I don't know what that proved to that video, but here we are. Do I actually think, I mean, obviously, sidetrack, this has nothing to do with Raw, really, but do I think Liv and Raquel actually attacked Jade? I'm gonna go with no. One, because the video doesn't actually prove anything. It just proves that they showed up for work, you know, because don't forget, when Jade got attacked, it was just before Survivor Series. So it's not weird that Liv and Raquel were at SmackDown. It's not weird because they were on the same team with, like, Nia and... Was Tiffany in the War Games match? I know Candice was. I can't remember if Tiffany was. But they were on the same team, so it is not, like, wild and this big reveal of, like, oh my god, Liv and Raquel were at SmackDown. Why were they at SmackDown, you know? Because it was heading into Survivor Series, so they were on the team with Nia, so of course they were at SmackDown, you know? So, to me, that video doesn't prove anything, so now it just makes me think that either Bianca or Naomi did it even more, because, I mean, the way that they've jumped to this conclusion, been like, yes, it's them, it's definitely them. You don't need to question it anymore, it's them, you know? That kind of thing, like jumping the gun and then jumping them on Raw and that. It makes them look way more guilty to me. But yeah, so thanks to all of the distractions and whatnot, Roxanne did qualify for the Women's Elimination Chamber match, which is now actually interesting because for the longest time there were rumours, apparently, of, you know, before the Rumble, when Charlotte was coming back and whatnot, obviously we knew that it was going to be Charlotte against Tiffany at WrestleMania. And then the other match was rumoured to be Becky Lynch against Rhea Ripley. But obviously now all the chamber spots are taken. Becky's nowhere to be seen. She was meant to come back on the Raw Netflix debut. She didn't. And then she's just not around. So I don't know if plans have changed. It would suggest that plans have changed. Then we had a number one contenders match. Dakota Kai taking on Ivy Nile. winner becomes #1 contender for Lyra Valkyria's IC Championship. A lot of people thought that Ivy was going to win, me included, because we've been building it. You know, Ivy eliminated Lyra at the Rumble. Then the backstage stuff where Lyra is being confronted by Ivy, and Ivy saying, I'm going to take that championship and all of that. We were really building this. So to have then Dakota Kai win in what was actually a very lackluster match, like, I feel like nothing happened. I don't even think we went to a commercial break, if I'm remembering correctly. It's a little bit hard to remember because, you know, Netflix, in the UK, we don't actually go to any adverts. So we normally just stay with the match. So at times it can be confusing to know, are we coming back from commercial? Are we going to commercial? What's happening? You know? So, yeah, it was a pretty quick match. Like, it did not take any time at all. But the kick that Dakota finished the match with, is it the detonation kick? I forget what she calls it. Isn't it the GTK, something like that? But the kick she delivered to Ivy looked brutal, man. But yeah, Dakota Kai wins. I'm happy because, you know, for one, for the fan base, two, for Dakota, because her fan base have been pushing and pushing for her to get an opportunity, and Dakota has wanted an opportunity. She's been saying that on her Twitch and her socials and whatnot, so I'm happy that she's getting this. Do I think she wins next week? No, I do not. Either because Lyra is just going to win clean, because she's also not defended the championship yet, I don't think. So I don't think she's going to lose on her first defense. But I think Ivy Nile gets involved, and then maybe we end up with a triple threat match. But yeah, I do hope that Dakota can capture that Intercontinental Championship. I just don't see it happening now. We had AJ Styles versus Dominik Mysterio as well. This actually opened the show. Well, it was the opening match of the show. I'll be honest, a little bit disappointed. I thought, you know what, Dom is exciting in the ring, like the stuff he can do. Like, he's not one of these wrestlers that goes in there and you kind of just sat there like, oh, when's this going to end, you know? And then AJ obviously is phenomenal. So I was expecting like a really back and forth contest, and an actual really exciting one, but didn't really go that way. It was kind of just an okay match. You know, I'm not down on it. It was fine. Carlito tried to get involved to help Dom. That didn't go to plan. And then actually after the match, Bron Breakker tried to spear AJ Styles after AJ got the win, and instead speared Dominik, which was great, which was a fun moment. But yeah, it very much seems like we're teasing a lot of challenges now for Bron Breakker, which is good. You know, Bron Breakker, for the first time in like what feels like since he won back his IC Championship, has made it down to the ring. You know, he's not just backstage having an interview or sat in the crowd. He's actually made it and got into the ring. So, step in the right direction. But yeah, it does seem like we're setting up something big for the Intercontinental Championship picture. Penta has teased that he's going after that belt. Now AJ has, and that seems like maybe the direction we're going, at least in the short term. Maybe by Mania we do have something like a blooming ladder match, or a six-man challenge, or a six-pack challenge, or whatever, you know? We also had Gunther coming out and almost assault a child. He came down, he was mimicking Jey Uso's entrance, like basically saying how everybody's so simple. And then there's like a kid in the way, and he walked down the stairs, and the kid's in front of him, and he's like, you might want to move, little man, before something happens. And I don't know. Apparently something to do with kids on this episode. People didn't like. You know, Grayson was beefing this blooming child during Pat McAfee interviewing them, when the US was technically at commercial break, when we obviously don't go to commercial breaks. So we were seeing Pat McAfee do an interview with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, and Grayson just pushes the kid out of the way, and then Theory just kind of gets in the middle, like acting as like a, you know, let's break it up kind of thing. And then Pat just kind of makes this kid's day and says, listen, that kid will eat you alive, man. Like, you know, fun interaction, but something about this episode, people were not thrilled with the children in the audience. But basically Gunther just yaps for like what feels like an eternity until Jey Uso finally comes out, because Gunther was basically about to attack Pat McAfee, which I wouldn't have been down on, to be honest. Just saying. But yeah, Jey Uso comes down, they then start brawling, and Jey gets the upper hand. We then actually get, a little bit later in the show, we get a backstage interview with Jey Uso, and Jey basically says, everyone keeps doubting me because Kathy tells him that most of the locker room don't think he can win at Mania, which, by the way, makes me think he's definitely winning at Mania. So then he's basically saying, like, oh, I'm going to have to shock the world again. Like, it's just me kind of thing. Like, I can do this. Which I believe he can. We also as well had, this actually opened the show, we had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's match being confirmed, except it's not a sanctioned match, which basically means anything goes. You know, Adam Pearce can't stop it. The ref can't stop it. Basically, there was this whole confrontation. Sami was basically told by Adam Pearce, like, look, you're not cleared. I'm not sanctioning this match. And then basically we end up at the conclusion that the match is happening. He won't be sanctioned, which doesn't actually mean a whole lot other than you can just rip each other apart, do whatever you have to do. So nobody can stop it. There's no disqualifications, all that kind of thing. But yeah, so that was the episode of Raw. It was alright. Overall, I think I'm going to go with a 6 out of 10. Just because, again, I feel like there was a little bit of a lack of talking points, but what we actually got was decent enough. And obviously now coming out of this, we now have the Elimination Chamber card. Like I said earlier, there may be one more match that gets added, but as of right now, it doesn't look like it. Obviously, we've still got like a week, so we never know. Well, technically 2 weeks, but yeah. Ooh, there may be one more match. Who knows? If you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that like button for me. It's very much appreciated. I appreciate everyone that's shown support on these videos as well. I know I've been kind of inconsistent over the past couple of weeks. I'll fix that, I promise. But yeah, thank you for watching, and hit that like button and subscribe, all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.